In 1945, the Japanese stood defeated in the Second World War. Korean guerrilla fighters in the north were returning from the mountains, and a new administration was on the verge of being declared. This new government needed a way to broadcast the situation across the country quickly. And as with the rest of the world at the time, there was no faster way than radio. On the 14th of October 1945, 2 months after the country was liberated from Japan, the long-time anti-Japanese guerrilla leader, the General Kim Il-sung, returned to the capital, Pyongyang. And for the first time, his words were broadcast not just to the locals who turned out to see him, but to the nation.
Now, Korea's mass media proclaimed their mission as an ideological tool of the party in imbuing the whole society with a Juche idea.
This is the voice of Korea.
This is Voice of Korea.
This video would not be possible without my supporters on Patreon. Korea in 1945 was in need of huge reconstruction across the board, with the formation of an entirely new government and civil society necessary after 35 years of colonial rule by Japan. Alongside the obvious, removing symbols of the Japanese occupation, creating new local councils, etc., there was a need for a radio network to keep the fledgling country unified and up to date with the goings-on of the new soon-to-be republic. In the 1940s, radio was still very much the primary method of communication, and so 1945 saw the launch of the Pyongyang Broadcasting Station, inaugurated with President Kim Il-sung's victory speech in Pyongyang on the 14th of October 1945. By February 1948, only 7 months before the proclamation of the Republic itself, the station was rebranded the Korean Central Broadcasting Station, a title which remains to this day. This new station was under the administration of the Choson Chungang Pangsong Wiwonhwae, or Korean Central Broadcasting Committee, which has coordinated all public radio broadcasting since 1945, both nationwide and local, as well as all television broadcasts since 1963. The station broadcasts from 5 AM to 3 AM and maintains a network of medium wave and short wave transmitters across the DPRK, including FM frequencies in Pyongyang and the city of Kaesong. The program opens with a tune signal, followed by a male voice saying
조선중앙방송입니다.
the station name. This is repeated, but instead with a female voice.
조선중앙방송입니다.
Then the national anthem is played and the broadcast begins. The scheduled programming varies, broadcasting regular news bulletins throughout the day, interspersed with talk pieces and music. Being the primary national station, this is the radio station which most Koreans will be familiar with, especially in the countryside, where the numerous numbers of transmitters make the broadcast accessible across the nation. If the Korean Central Broadcasting Service is the most well-known domestically, then Voice of Korea is no doubt the best-known station outside the country. Launched in 1945 under the name Radio Pyongyang, the broadcast serves international audiences rather than domestic ones. As a result, it is broadcast not in Korean, but in numerous foreign languages. The first international broadcast was made on the 16th of March 1947 in Chinese, followed soon after in 1950 by the start of Japanese broadcasting. The 6th of November 1951 saw the first English language broadcast from Radio Pyongyang, followed over a decade later by Russian and French broadcasts in 1963, Spanish in 1965, Arabic in 1970, and German in 1983. The station kept the name Radio Pyongyang for years, until in 2002, when it rebranded under the name Chosun의 소리, or Voice of Korea. The program opens similarly to the domestic broadcasts, with a tune signal followed by the station name announced in the respective language, by both a male then female announcer.
This is Voice of Korea.
This is Voice of Korea.
This is followed by the national anthem. And an announcement that the broadcast has begun.
Dear listeners, now we start English language service of Voice of Korea from Pyongyang, the capital of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea.
This is followed by the song of General Kim Il-sung.
Now here's Mixed Chorus, Song of General Kim Il-sung.
And the song of General Kim Jong-il.
Now here's Male Chorus, Song of General Kim Jong-il.
After which, the typically hour-long program begins, featuring a mixture of news bulletins and music.
You are listening to VOK, Voice of Korea News Now.
A meeting of the Presidium of the Political Bureau of the Central Committee of the Workers' Party of Korea was held in the headquarters building of the Party Central Committee on May the 17th.
So, having covered the broadcasts beaming out from the country both domestically and internationally, it's worth mentioning a different type of radio network which crisscrosses the country. Since 1950, the DPRK has implemented a wire broadcasting system, transmitted through a network of cables rather than over the air. This network is extensive, and in recent years has been prioritised alongside the national push for redevelopment and improvement in living standards, with cable radio emphasised alongside the implementation of cable television in new homes across the country. The wired network is especially important in those rural areas which are too mountainous to reliably receive terrestrial broadcasts. The cable radio, much like cable television such as the Manbang television set, allows access to radio programming, news and updates for those far outside the major population centres.
Welfare establishments should be set up in the new residential districts, and characteristic parks and recreation grounds be built in every living quarters.
This system also allows for more specific broadcasts. The network carries national programming and announcements, alongside provincial, city and local level broadcasting, which can often relate more directly to the listeners. The network was officially declared complete in 1982. However, with the current push to develop new city districts and new redeveloped towns and villages, it's safe to assume these new buildings will also come outfitted with access to the network. The final station on our list is Pyongyang FM, officially Pyongyang FM Pangsong, or Pyongyang FM Broadcasting. Launched on the 1st of January 1989, the station broadcasts from 6 AM to midday, and then again from 4 PM through to 5 AM. The schedule often changes during important anniversaries or holidays, when it has been known to broadcast all day. Unlike the other stations, Pyongyang FM does not open with the typical tune signal. Instead, it launches with a time signal, followed by
평양 FM 방송입니다.
or This is Pyongyang FM Pangsong. The programming which follows is a mixture of music, talk programs, radio dramas and serials. However, the vast majority of the airtime is dominated by music and songs. The network is available all over the country, with transmitters located in many of the DPRK's major cities, similar to the Korean Central Broadcasting Station, making it another popular radio station across the country. On this channel, we've now covered the DPRK's media, the country's television, and now the national radio network. All three of these mediums make up Korea's ecosystem of mass media. As with the rest of the world, radio was perhaps the most important form of media during the mid-20th century, especially as the country emerged from Japanese occupation and began to come back together to create an entirely new republic in 1948. In fact, until 1963 and the introduction of the Korean Central Television System, radio served as a lifeline between the capital and the provinces, especially the more distant mountainous provinces, serving to keep the population updated with goings-on around the DPRK. If you want to find out more about the mass media in the country, check out my videos on television and the various newspapers and magazines in the DPRK. If you want to support the channel, which would be greatly appreciated, please check out my Patreon, which is linked in the description below, along with my DPRK Explained music channel, which hosts the various Korean music I use in these videos. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll leave you in the same way that Voice of Korea leaves their listeners.
Dear listeners, with this we conclude the English language service of Voice of Korea from the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. Voice of Korea presents its English language service for Southeast Asia between 5 and 6 hours UTC. Goodbye, this is Pyongyang.